Good afternoon, I am Sora Maiti of class 9th. I will told you French Revolution, French society during late 18th century. In 1774, Louis XVI of the Bourbon dynasties of kings ascended the throne of France. He was 20 years old and married to the Austrian princess Marie Antoinette. Upon his accession, he found an empty treasure. Long year of war drained the financial resource of France. Under Louis XVI, France held 13 American colonies for gain independence from common enemy called Britain. The war added much more billion of debt levers that had already risen to more than 2 billion levers. Leaders who gave the state credit now began to change percent interest on loans. French society in 18th century was divided into three states. Only member of third state paid have to taxed. The society of a state of feudal system that dated back to the Middle Ages. The term old regime is usually used to describe the society, an institution in France before 1789. Here it is a first state where clergy and here it is second state where nobility, and here it is the third state where big businessmen and peasants, farmers, small peasants, artisans, many more are there who have to pay tax. Louis XVI had divided the population into a state colony, nobility and third state. The first state and second state were compromised clergy and nobility. It was the 10% of the populated of the France. The rest 90% of population of France was made up of third estate. It involved big businessmen, merchants, court officials, lawyers, peasants, artisans, small peasants, landless laborers, servants, etc. The third estate gives both type of direct and indirect tax. It earned the wealth of France. The next heading is that struggle to survive. The population of France rose from about 23 million in 1715 to 28 million in 1789. This led to a rapid rise in demand for food grains. Production of grains could not keep pace with the demands. So the price of bread, which was staple diet of majority, rose rapidly. Most workers were employed as laborers in workshops whose owners fixed their wages. Next heading is a growing middle class envisages an end to privileges. In the past, peasants and workers had participated in revolts against increasing taxes and food security. But they lacked the means and programs to carry out full-scale measures that would bring about a change in social and economic order. The 18th century witnessed the emergence of social groups, termed the middle class, who earned their wealth through an expanding overseas trade from manufacturing of goods, such as woolen, silk textiles, that either exported or bought by richer members society. All of these were educated and believed that no group of society should be privileged by birth. The next heading is that the outbreak of French Revolution. On 5 May 1789, Louis XVI called together an assembly of States General to pass proposal for new taxes. A resplendent hall in Versailles was prepared to host delegates. The first and second states sent 300 representatives each, who were seated in rows facing each other on two sides, while 600 members of first and second state total. While third state had to stand at the back, the third state was represented by its more purpose and educated member. They had 300. Peasants, artisans and women are divided entry to assembly. However, these grievances and demands were listed in some 40,000 letters which the representatives had brought with them. Voting in the Estates General is the past had been conducted according to the principle that each state had one vote. This time too Louis XVI was determined to continue the same practice. But members of the third estate demanded that voting now be conducted by the assembly as a whole, where each member would one vote. When the king rejected this proposal, members of third estate walked out from the assembly. In protest, on 20 June, they assembled in the hall of an indoor tennis court in the ground of Versailles. They declared themselves a National Assembly and swore not to disperse till they had drafted a constitution for France that would limit the power of the monarch. They were led by the Mirabeau and Abbé Sieyès. Mirabeau was born in the noble family, but was convinced of the need to do away with society of the feudal privileges. He bought outbreak a journal and delivered powerful speeches to crowds assembled at Versailles. This is the picture of tennis court of Or. Abbé Sieyès, originally a priest, who wrote an influential pamphlet called What is the Third Estate? While the National Assembly was busy at Versailles drafting a constitution, the reset France seethed with turmoil. Due to bad harvest, the price of bread rises rapidly. The situation worsened when bakers started hoarding supplies. King ordered troops to move into Paris and open firing. On 14 July, the agitated crowd stormed and destroyed Bastille. In the countryside, rumors spread that King commanded troops to move into the city and soon ordered to open firing. Some 7,000 men and women gathered in front of town hall and form of people militaries. Rumors spread in that King ordered army to open fire. This is the picture that shows that it is Bastille and it is some people's militia. It will defeated this Bastille fort. Finally, a group of 700,000 people marched toward the eastern part of city and stormed the fortress prison. They hope that they get weapon, but they don't. In Bastille, the commander was killed and 7 prisoners released. Next topic is that the France becomes a constitutional monarchy. The National Assembly completed the draft of the Constitution 1791. Its main objective was to limit the powers of the monarch. These powers, instead of being concentrated in hand of one person, were now separated and assigned to different institutions, the legislature, executive and judiciary. This made France a constitutional monarchy. Here are the constitutional monarchy system. Here judges are taken and here king and here a judge. Here assembly formed. Here around 50,000 electors member. Here are voters, some voters are there, and here that do not denied. The Constitution of 1791 of France vested the power to make laws in the National Assembly, which was indirectly elected. This is citizens voted for a group of electors who in turn choose the assembly. Now, not all the citizens, however, had the right to vote. Only men above 25 of years age who paid taxes equal to at least 3 days a laborer's wage. Here are some political symbols. Here it is a broken chain. In the broken chain, chains were used to fetter slaves. A chain stands for the act of becoming free. Here it is a bundle of rods faces. One rod can easily be broken, but an entire bundle strengthens unity. Here it is a eye with a triangle radiating shine light. The all-seeing eye stands for knowledge. The rays of sun will drive away the cloud of ignorances. Here it is a scepter, symbol of royal power. And here it is a snake biting its tail to form a ring. In this symbol of eternity, a ring has neither beginning nor end. Here is red figurine cap. cap worn by slave for becoming free. And here it is blue, white, red. It is the national color of France. Here it is the law tablet. The law is the same for all. All are equal before it. Here, the winged woman. Here is the picture of winged woman, personification of the law. It is a personification of the law. Did women have a revolution? क्या women revolution कर सकती है? Here it is a picture of that heading. Persian women on their way to versatile. From the very beginning, women were active participants in the event, which brought about so many important changes in French society. They hoped that their involvement would pressurize the revolution. Government to introduce measures to improve their lives. Most women of the third estate had to work for living. Conclusion. In 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte crowned himself Emperor of France. He set out to conquer neighboring European countries, disposing dynasty and creating kingdom where he placed members of his family. Napoleon saw his role as a modernizer of Europe. He introduced many laws such as the protection of private property and uniform system of weight and measure provided by the decimal system. Initially, many saw Napoleon as a liberator who would bring freedom for people, but soon the Napoleon armies came to viewed everywhere and invading forts. He was finally defeated at Waterloo in 1815. Many of his measures that carried the resolution ideas of liberty and modern laws to other parts of Europe had an impact on people long after Napoleon had left. The ideas of liberty and democratic rights were the most important legacy of the French Revolution. This spread from France to the rest of Europe during the 19th century, where the movement of to create a sovereign nation state, Tipu Sultan and Raja Ram Mohan Roy are two examples of individuals who respond to ideas coming from an revolution France. This is the picture of Napoleon Bonaparte. This is Napoleon Bonaparte crossing the Alps, painting by David. It is the painted by David. Thank you to see my report on French Revolution.